Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Tournament Takes. I'm going to give you guys one final look, kind of give you guys a breakdown of where I'm targeting this Week 10 slate. I've kind of dove into it pretty deep, done quite a bit of research, so I want to kind of show you guys where my tournament takes are at. So let's start off with the first game, Washington at Detroit. Someone that I'm targeting heavily this week is going to be the running back Antonio Gibson. I mentioned him in my last video. Based on everything that I'm seeing, he came out of practice well. He practiced in full on Thursday. And, like I said, Detroit is the best matchup on the board for a running back. And I don't think that they're going to be playing this game from behind. Kenny Golladay is ruled out on Detroit's side. And we are getting, Kenny Golladay is out. We have Dontrell Inman out. I think that they're not really going to be passing the ball as much. Like I said before, Washington is a team that once they get ahead, they tend to run the ball 70% of the time. So I'm really targeting Antonio Gibson. Some people may want to play J.D. McKissic. I have no problem with that. Like I said in the last video, he had 14 targets in the last game. He's getting most of his work in the passing downs. I don't think that this is going to be a game where they're going to need to pass. And also, Detroit is a little bit better against, passing against the running backs. They're a little better against pass-catching running backs, I should say. Dalvin Cook did light him up this past weekend, but most of it was rushing. It wasn't really in the pass game. So my first tournament take is going to be a lock for me no matter what lineup I play. Is going to be Antonio Gibson. I don't think the field is very high on him. People are, in that 5,600 range. People are actually going down to David Johnson. They're playing a couple other plays. I think this is a great spot to get some leverage. I also mentioned in my last video that I do like the Washington football team. Without Kenny Golladay, Matt Stafford has been actually horrible on the field. Marvin Jones hasn't really been great, all season long, and I don't think this is the game where he's going to come out and all of a sudden be a great receiver for them. So I do want to stack that with the Washington football team. So I'm going to kind of give you guys my kind of core build and then kind of where I'm adjusting around. So in this game, first game of the slate, I'm not bringing it back with anyone from the Detroit side. I'm just stacking Antonio Gibson with the Washington football team. That's my first tournament take. Jacksonville, Green Bay. In my last video, I did mention that, I do like Aaron Jones. After doing some research into it, I actually like James Robinson more on the other side. He had 25 touches the last game, 22 touches, 12, 13. So if you look at against Detroit, he had 12 touches. They were playing from behind. If you look at Houston, he had 13 touches. They were playing from behind. Cincinnati, 17 touches. They were still playing behind. Now, the weather in Green Bay is supposed to be really, really bad, really windy. So this could mean some dump-offs to James Robinson. Although I still think that, Green Bay could dominate this game. I think on both sides it could end up being a lot closer game than the Vegas totals are projecting right now. So as of right now, I'm off of Aaron Jones and James Robinson. I don't want to play either of them. I feel like with Aaron Jones, if they, Jacksonville is not bad against their run. They're giving up 3.95 yards per carry, and they are stuffing the running back at a pretty decent rate. So while Aaron Jones can get the work in the passing game and the rushing game to get there, I just don't feel like he's going to have that 35-point explosion this week that you absolutely need to have him in your lineups. So this is a cross-off game for me, mostly because of weather, but also because I feel like Green Bay has a couple different ways to get there. Tanyan in this game is questionable. We don't know if he's going or yet. Keep an eye on that tomorrow morning to see if we get this news. This video has been recorded about 11 p.m. Pacific time, so about 1 a.m. East Coast time Sunday morning. I really don't think I want to go to Tanyan, even if he does play. Like I said, this game is supposed to be 26 mile per hour wind. If you guys don't know what that is, just get in your car, get on the road, and stick your hand out the window and see how fast 25 mile an hour winds are. It's definitely going to affect the passing game, which leads me to believe that they're going to be playing against stacked boxes, which, I really don't want to have the running backs in the game, playing against stacked boxes. So I'm off of this game. Kind of the same thing with Houston. Houston is supposed to have, gusts of 50 miles an hour. Now, with the running back position, Nick Chubb is back from IR. David Johnson now is on IR, so a lot of people are going to Duke Johnson. Cleveland is typically a good matchup for the running back, and they will be running the ball more. But I don't see Duke Johnson getting there. They're just not running the ball enough. And again, if they're going to be stacking the box against this, against Duke Johnson, I mean, he had 16 carries against Jacksonville last week for 2.6 yards a carry. All year long, people have been, fading David Johnson in great spots. And, at this slate, they want to play Duke Johnson when he's, highly owned. So I really don't want any piece of this game either. Like earlier in the week, I may have been on, Hooper because of the short pass, but they're supposed to have 50-mile-an-hour gusts in this game, and that's extremely strong wind. If that's the case, they're not going to be, there's not going to be a deep safety. They're not going to drop their corners deep play cover 2 or cover 4. They're going to move up. So I really think that, on either side of this game, it could be a lot lower scoring. People think that even if it's a lower scoring, it's a good idea to get the defenses in. The thing is, if they're not throwing the ball, that doesn't really provide you much chance of getting turnovers or getting, like a fumble recovery or whatever it is. You essentially want an interception touchdown is what you're looking for from your defense. That's going to give you the highest leverage, like a fumble recovery touchdown. And I just don't think that those options are there in this game because it's going to be so windy. Even with the Jacksonville and Green Bay game, Green Bay has been good getting pressure on the quarterbacks, and Jacksonville's, I don't even know who their starting quarterback is this week. Minshew's out. Oh, they have Luton starting again. So, you could take a shot on Green Bay defense. They have been good. If you are playing Aaron Jones, you may want to stack them with that. But I'm off of these two games entirely. My next favorite spot of this week, this also has a little bit of weather, but it's a lot less than the other games, is Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is coming back from injury. He is healthy, and the Giants are just an amazing matchup. They're horrible against the short pass, and they're horrible against the run. And, Philly D right now is one of the best offensive rushing lines. So, they may not be great in pass protection, but they are great in blocking against the run. So I think Miles Sanders could have a field day, especially, like I said, if the weather is bad, he could have a field day. So he has a way to get there in the pass game and the rushing game, which I can't say about Antonio Gibson, but Gibson is just, it's kind of like a play where, like I said, Detroit's just been bad against the run all year long. So I really want Miles Sanders. That's my tournament take number 2. I am going to be overweight on him very significantly on Miles Sanders and Antonio Gibson. In this same game, I like a run back. Now, this may be a little more chalky. Evan ENGRAM, like I said, these teams played a couple weeks ago, and if you notice, Evan ENGRAM has been getting more and more work every single week. The weather concerns me a little bit, but I think if it's going to be short dump-offs, we've seen them use Evan ENGRAM, on just rushing plays and stuff like that. I still think he can get there, especially when you have other tight ends this week that are going to be very, very chalky, like Darren Waller. I think this is a spot in this type of game where I do want to run back because I expect this game to be close. If Miles Sanders does go off for that ceiling game, I definitely want a run back on the other side with Evan ENGRAM. So that's my another tournament take. You could also play Dallas Goedert against the Giants. This is not it's not the best of matchups, but the Giants tend to get a little more pressure on the quarterback, whereas the same can't be said about Philly. So if that's the case, Philly does run 2 tight end sets a lot. I would expect them to be blocking a little bit more. So I don't want Goddard in that situation. If he gets 4 for 40 and a touchdown, so be it. But I'm just off of that. So in this game, I'm targeting Evan ENGRAM and Miles Sanders. I like the correlation there, and that's kind of where I'm going. Let's get to the chalk game. Tampa Bay, Carolina. Tom Brady is in an excellent spot. Carolina is horrible against the deep pass. This game also does have some weather concerns. They expect about 15-mile-an-hour winds and anticipate that it's going to go up as the game progresses. So, I'm a little hesitant on playing Mike Evans or playing Robbie Anderson or playing DJ Moore. DJ Moore 5,100, it's a great price. If they're playing from behind, you may want to get a Teddy Bridgewater stack with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. Obviously, we have the chalk here with Mike Davis. Like I said earlier in my last video, I think it's a really, really hard spot to fade Mike Davis in. I just feel like he can get there in the pass game. with 5 targets, 50 yards. He gets maybe 10 attempts for 30 yards rushing, 5 catches for maybe say 25 or 30 yards. All of a sudden, you got about 12 to 13 points, and if he gets a touchdown, you're going to need to have him. So he's kind of someone I do want to put into my lineup. As of right now, we can adjust this later, but this is kind of one of the chalky stands that I feel like it's good chalk. It's a horrible rushing matchup for him. That's why I'm a little more hesitant. I mentioned in my last video, you could play Josh Reynolds as a pivot. It seems like his ownership is coming up throughout the week, and I'll get into that a little more when we get to that game. But Mike Davis is someone who I really want. On the other side, I do want to bring it back with somebody if I am playing him. This is probably one of my tournament lineups that I'm going to play. I do like Antonio Brown. He came back. He showed us that he is still the guy that he was. He had 5 targets, 3 catches. He is their deep threat. Like I said, the only concern that I have in this game is going to be the weather. If that's the case, then Antonio Brown may not get there with the deep passes. The other thing about Tampa Bay specifically is they tend to spread the ball around a lot. Brady can throw to Evans, Godwin, Brown. Heck, he can even go to Gronk, and I do like Gronk as well. I think it's a good matchup for Gronk as well. We saw, Travis Kelce just absolutely shred this defense last week for 10 catches, 169 yards and some odd touchdown. So I do like Gronk in this scenario. The wind is the only thing that kind of concerns me. So keep an eye on that. My tournament target from this game, while I am plugging in Mike Davis for right now, I feel like Gronk could be a great play. I do like, out of all the receivers, I like Antonio Brown the best. And, if they are playing from behind, I do like the pieces of Carolina, but I don't think I'm getting there this week. Like I said, Samuel does have that, that rushing from the red zone. But in this scenario, if Mike Davis is going to be 50% owned, the downside of not having him outweighs the upside of having him. What I mean by that is the downside is if I don't play him and he goes for 20, I'm dead in the water. It's very difficult to make up those 20 points from someone who's at 4,000. Now, if he happens to bust or goes for 10 or 12, you get a huge leverage on the field. By fading him, you have 50 or 60% of people who are going to have these in these single entry or 3 entry max contests. But I feel like I will just rather live with that and just play with the rest of my lineup, and just hope that I make up the difference elsewhere. So that's why I feel like I have to have Mike Davis. I might not have him in 100% of my lineups, and I'll explain why. But as of right now, I'm plugging him in from this game. But keep in mind, from this game, I do really, really like Antonio Brown on the other side. I'm gonna kind of plug it in right now, and we'll see how things shake out. But there's a correlation for that. If we get to the next game, Denver and Las Vegas, I feel like this is gonna be a really, really under-owned game. Jerry Jeudy was limited practice all week. He did have a full practice, I believe, on Friday. He expects to go this week, and if he does, I feel like Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick are both great plays. Off the board stack, I feel like Drew Lock with both of these receivers, Tim Patrick and Jerry Jeudy could be fantastic plays. If you are doing that, which I likely will do in one of my lineups, I do want to run it back with Waller. Waller is their number 1 receiver. He's getting a bunch of targets. Matchup is not the best, but they're going to rely on him to move the ball. My one concern with that is, Oakland tends to run the ball, or Las Vegas tends to run the ball when they get ahead. So Josh Jacobs could be kind of a sneaky play. The matchup for Denver also, Las Vegas is really bad against the run, though they are stuffing the running back behind the line. 10th in the league right now. They're ranked 10th in the league. So I think you could also be seeing Melvin Gordon getting some passes out of the backfield, which makes me a little bit more hesitant on stacking Drew Lock with Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick. I feel like with this game, with my stacks at least, I want people who are going to be I want quarterbacks who are going to be passing within the 5-yard line. I don't want a chance for the running back to get in, whereas, if I'm playing someone like a Josh Jacobs and Derek Carr all of a sudden throws a touchdown, or if I'm playing, Melvin Gordon in this scenario, and Drew Lock throws a touchdown to Tim Patrick or Jerry Jeudy, it kills all the upside by playing Melvin Gordon. So while I do like Melvin Gordon as a play, as a kind of a one-off, I'm not in love with it, so I probably won't get there, but it's a viable play that I think if it pans out and he does end up getting a bunch of catches out of the backfield, I think you're going to want a piece of Melvin Gordon. So in this game, I like Melvin Gordon. I do like Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, Drew Lock. So those four are targets. I'm not really on Fant this week. I really don't think that, like I said, if Jeudy and Fant, I feel like they take away from each other. They're both playing out of the middle of the field. It's going to be one or the other, and I'm leaning Jeudy this week. Darren Waller, the main reason I'm leaning Jeudy is because he also catches deep passes. Darren Waller on the other side. So if you are running a Denver stack, which I feel like could be leveraged again off of the next game that I'm going to talk about, I would go with the double stack and a Waller bring back. Going to Buffalo and Arizona. This game, early on in the week, I said I kind of wanted to avoid it because I felt like the ownership would be too high. I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like the quarterback position may be spread out between Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, and you might have a bunch of Russell Wilson and some Jared Goff. In this scenario, I really, really like Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. I think they're both fantastic plays, and I kind of like Josh Allen a little bit more. I feel like that $500 difference in price may lead people to just play Kyler Murray, and therefore Josh Allen will be a little underowned. I do like pairing him with slot receivers who are going to be coming out of the middle of the field. Arizona is really, really good against the deep pass. Like I mentioned in the last video, that's why we saw Tyler Lockett kind of go off in a couple of those games again in that game against Arizona, is because they brought the pass rush and they were just getting the ball out really, really quick. Out of the slot in this game, you have Stephon Diggs and you have Cole Beasley. John Brown is more of their deep threat. So in this game, I don't mind either Diggs or Beasley. If Diggs is going to be very highly owned at 7,500, he is getting the red zone work as well. I am going to lean Beasley in this case. At 4,700, I feel like he doesn't need much to get you there. If he does catch a touchdown, you're kind of rolling in it. So I want to stack Josh Allen without Stephon Diggs. And you can play Diggs. It's just a salary cap game, so it's going to make it a little harder to get there. But I do like Diggs in this scenario, and I do like Cole Beasley. It looks like I have a little salary right now, so I'm going to plug in Diggs, and we'll kind of come back to it. I kind of like running it back on the other side. I think DeAndre Hopkins, because he's expensive, he's going to go way under-owned this week. Or maybe he won't, but DeAndre Hopkins and Kirk are both fantastic plays. We saw last week their number one receiver, Metcalf, did get a lot of work against Buffalo. So I think Hopkins in this spot could get that 10, 12 target type of game that we've seen him get throughout the weeks. Though Christian Kirk is also also a great play, I feel like the volume is going to be here with Hopkins. He's getting the red zone, and they are giving up some of the deep passes down the left side of the field and down the right side of the field. So even a double stack with Cole Beasley with Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins, I don't mind it. So if we were to build something like that, it kind of would look like this, like with Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk. It gives you enough to bring it back with Cole Beasley. So this is the kind of build that I'm getting to this week. I'll go through the rest of the games and kind of explain some other spots that I'm on. But this is the kind of build I'm going with, is because I like Kyler Murray, I like Josh Allen, I like the double stack with the one bring back, with a cheap kind of bring back. You could also go in this scenario, if I didn't want to play Kirk and I didn't want to play Beasley, I could also go Stephon Diggs. And like I was saying, maybe I want to play Josh Allen in this stack. Gives me a little bit more room. Like I was saying, I'm not 100% sure with the Evan ENGRAM take, with the Mike Davis take. I mean, not meaning that I'm not 100% sure, is that they're not 100% locked for me because of the weather issue with Evan ENGRAM and Miles Sanders. So if I do want to maybe fade Mike Davis or Miles Sanders here, I can go out and then run it back with potentially. So I have Josh Allen to Diggs. I got a run back with Hopkins. I got Antonio Gibson correlated with the Washington defense. I do like, if I'm going to play Mike Davis at running back, I want to play Antonio Brown. It gives me 4,200 for a flex, which you could flex out someone who I'm going to talk about in the next game. So the next game is the Chargers and Miami. Now, we know that Justin Jackson is out. I think you need to keep an eye on this scenario. If Galen Balaj was called back up, if he is a go, I want Kalen Balaj. It's going to either be Kalen Balaj, Kelly, or Pope. I really hope it's Pope, because a lineup like this with Pope gives me incredible leverage on someone like just Mike Davis. You're plugging in 4,000 guys, which gives you huge upside. So in this, the Chargers against Miami, I'll go back to Buffalo one more time. With Buffalo, Arizona, I just want the receivers. All I want, I don't want any Chase Edmonds. I understand, he is going to be chalky. People are waiting to see if Kenyon Drake plays or not. I'm off the off the running game entirely. I just want Kirk and Hopkins, Kyler, and then on the Buffalo side, I want Josh Allen. Cole Beasley is my number one target, and Stephon Diggs if I can afford it. So those are the targets in that game. In the Chargers against Miami, Miami has been really good on defense against the pass and bringing pressure on the quarterback. So you may see a bunch of dump offs to the RB. They're pretty good against the pass catching running backs as well, which is why I think this Miami is a prime defense for just a straight rushing running back. So I think in this game, it's going to be either Pope or Balaj, and I want exposure to both because I don't know who it's going to be. So simply from the Chargers game, the only exposure I want is the Chargers running back, which is going to be either Pope or Balaj. I showed you the first lineup. This is kind of a second lineup build that I could potentially take. You do have correlation. Evan Ingram seems to be a one-off here. So what I was doing, I also do like Mike Gesicki. Now that we see if Preston Williams has been on IR, that might open up some more targets for Mike Gesicki here. And I think he's been sneaky kind of all season. When people least expected is kind of when he went off. He had that 30-point game out of the slot against Buffalo, which is why I like kind of Beasley in that game and Diggs. But he hasn't been great. So this is kind of a bounce back spot where I really like. If I'm playing Pope, I like Gesicki as a bring back. And instead of having Washington football team, you can decide to upgrade and go to the Eagles defense. Plenty of different routes I can go. I can also go down, if I want to go to Cole Beasley here. If I plug in Cole Beasley, and instead of getting some leverage off of Mike Davis, I play a $4,000 Pope. I can go up and get my Miles Sanders that I'm high on this week, and I can go ahead and pair him. I can go ahead and get Kyler Murray, and I have 300 left, and this is the lineup I'm okay playing. I like Kyler Murray to DeAndre Hopkins. I like the running backs there. I can even go, instead of going to Gesicki, I could go back to Ingram if I wanted. I think Pope provides you with some routes where you can kind of get some leverage on the field with the Mike Davis. You could still play Mike Davis. The concern with, again, Mike Davis is he can get you there. He can also bust, but the major thing is that the downside that he offers, I think it's mega, because if you're able to get that leverage on the field, you're going to be in a really good spot. So I am 50-50 on this. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be playing him. There will definitely be a couple lineups where I'm going to be fading him. So kind of keep that in mind. Look at the correlations. When you're building, you kind of want to build with a route where you have someone from the other side and kind of a run back. So with the Chargers in Miami, I like Gesicki, and I like Pope or Balaj, whoever it's going to be. So if it's Pope, I don't mind going with Pope. If it's Balaj, I don't mind Balaj. It'll become clear. It'll become a little more clear as the day kind of goes on. But I'm going to take shots on both and just hope that one of the lineups is right. San Francisco, New Orleans. Now, people are targeting Brandon Ayuk this week. I see he's trending towards being a little more owned. I just don't want any pieces of this game. I just think that the Saints are going to steamroll them. We saw what they did to Brady on Monday Night Football. They are bringing a ton of pressure on the quarterback, and the 49ers don't throw enough to begin with. Their run defense is really good. We saw what they did to kind of Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. So I really don't want any pieces of this game at all. I feel like Kamara and Michael Thomas take away enough targets from each other to where there's only going to be a certain amount of points scored. And, at 8,200, Michael Thomas at 7,400, if you're going to play him, there's no better price you're going to get on him. This is the week to do it. If you're going to play Ayuk, it's a great price. I just don't. I'm off this game entirely. I don't think that I want pieces of this game. Drew Brees is not really launching the ball deep, and if he is, it's not really. I don't think it's going to be Michael Thomas. I think it's going to be maybe a Traquan Smith, but I'm off this game altogether. Now the Seattle and the Rams game. This is another game that's going to be highly targeted. For the record, I do like the Buffalo and Arizona game better, even though I think it'll be more highly owned. The Seattle and the Rams game, the problem with this game is that every single person, like on on the Rams, you could have it could be Henderson, it could be Malcolm Brown in the red zone, it could be Cooper Kupp, it could be Robert Woods, Josh Reynolds, it could even be Higbee or Everett. You don't know who Goff is throwing to. You don't know if Woods is rushing for the touchdown. And, Jared Goff threw it 61 times last week against Miami. He put up 17 fantasy points. This is just not something I trust at this price at 6,500. I don't feel like he provides you the kind of upside that a Kyler Murray or Josh Allen or a Russell Wilson provides you. So I'm just off this altogether. I do like Josh Reynolds on this spot as a pivot off of Mike Davis at 3,500. He's getting the targets. He got 9 against Miami, 8 against Chicago, 5. He is going to get the deep targets. So I feel like, Seattle is horrible against the deep receivers. And Cooper Kupp right now he doesn't have an injury designation, but it said that he was somewhat limited in practice earlier this week, Wednesday and Thursday. So it's something to keep an eye on. Like I said, it's about 11 p.m. here on the West Coast. If we get news that Cooper Kupp is ruled out, then I think you kind of want to lock in Robert Woods and Josh Reynolds because you're seeing where the targets are going more, even though I'm a little more hesitant to do it. Now, on the Seattle side, I think this is going to be a Lockett game. I really want all the Lockett I can get. Metcalf is their deep threat receivers, and the Rams bring pressure. So when the Rams bring pressure on Russell Wilson, he wants to get the ball out of his hand as soon as possible. And that's kind of what we saw against Arizona. Arizona was bringing pressure, and he threw the ball 50 times. I mean, he got, 35 fantasy points. You had Kyler, who did very well in that game, too. But majority of those targets were going to Tyler Lockett, the short targets. So, San Francisco doesn't really bring pressure. You saw a little bit of pressure from Buffalo, but not as much as we saw in Arizona. So this is kind of a game where I think it's gonna be a Lockett game. Now, you could just fade this game entirely like I did in the previous build, where I just didn't want pieces of it. We found out that, Chris Carson is going to be out. Carlos Hyde is going to be out. The Rams have been horrible against the run. So I think this could be a sneaky DJ Dallas spot. Russell Wilson can also rush for touchdowns. It opens up Homer and DJ Dallas. So there are plenty of value plays this week where you can kind of build wherever you want to. For the record, if I'm playing this game, which I am, I want Tyler Lockett, and I do want, on the other side, I want Josh Reynolds. I really don't know if it's going to be, which receiver it's going to be on the others on the Rams. I'm just taking a shot on Josh Reynolds because I feel like even if he gets the targets or he doesn't get the targets, if he catches the long touchdown, 3,500 price is not much to pay for him. So I really like those two pieces from this game. I'm off DK Metcalf. I don't think it's a Metcalf week. I know some people in this game are targeting the tight end, Jacob Hollister, Greg Olsen, Will Disley. They all take away enough from each other that I don't think anyone's just going to have the dominant market share. Whereas Evan Ingram is getting 30% of the targets, the team's total targets. That's not the case here. So I'm kind of off of all these guys together. So if I'm gonna start my build with say Tyler Lockett and Josh Reynolds, I do want that Antonio Gibson, like I mentioned. No matter what, I think Antonio Gibson this week is gonna be in every single one of my lineups. I have a feeling about it, and I'm kind of going to go with it. I'm stacking him with the Washington football team. You could play Miami defense, which is not bad, although Herbert doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. You could play Miami defense. You could play the Saints defense. But if the team is not throwing much, like San Francisco, or in the games where you have the weather issues, it's really limiting your opportunity to get turnovers. So I think I want to stick with Gibson and Washington defense. I like Tyler Lockett and Reynolds. Like I said, I did like Kyler Murray. I like Hopkins. I like Beasley as the bringback. I do like Evan Ingram. And I do like Miles Sanders. So I'm about $100 short of this lineup. So somewhere around here, I might have to kind of tweak something. Instead of going Kyler Murray here, maybe I go with, Russell Wilson. Or instead of going with Russell Wilson, if I want to go with Kyler Murray, maybe I just take a stab at playing the Saints defense. Although I'm a little higher on Washington than I am on the Saints. But something like this could give you major upside. So you're getting the $3,500 pivot off of Mike Davis, and you're playing 4,700 Cole Beasley at 4,500, and the lineup is still correlated to where you have players from both sides of certain teams that are going off. Your only one off here that you're playing is the Saints defense. I do like I said, if I do like Tom Brady's spot, I also like Rob Gronkowski in that game, like I mentioned. So if I'm playing Mike Davis, I could play Rob Gronkowski, and let's say instead of Miles Sanders, I play Mike Davis. You don't need Josh Reynolds then. You can go ahead and play Cole Beasley. You could play Tyler Lockett as your one-off. You can go ahead and play the Washington defense. Oops. Let's see, the football team it's called. And that leaves you about 5,600 for your flex, which I'm not entirely sure on, but maybe like a Jerry Jeudy as a one-off. Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones are also not in a bad spot against Carolina, but I think I would try to get 100 more and pay for Kirk in this situation. So I would tinker with this a little bit, work with the quarterback and kind of figure out what I want to do. Going to the last game, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. This is a game where I feel like this could be a sneaky shootout spot. We did see James Conner bust in a big way last week. This is a beautiful matchup for him. Though Cincinnati is not giving up much in their power rate, they are giving up a ton of yards to the running back. So I really like James Conner in this scenario. On the run back, Pittsburgh is giving up a lot of the deep pass. So I think it could be Tyler Boyd, it could be T. Higgins, it could be A.J. Green. Mostly T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd could be the beneficiary of those long touchdowns. This is a game, again, weather has some issues. Roethlisberger didn't practice all week because he was on the COVID-19 list, but I don't think he needs practice. I think he should be fine just, hopping back in here. But for the record, for the most part, I'm just not going to this game. I might have some shares of James Conner potentially with the Pittsburgh defense. I don't think that Joe Burrow's really turning the ball over much. Let's see. Okay, actually, so he's had an interception nearly almost every game, but he's not turning it over a whole lot. And the Bengals tend to get in shootouts a lot, so I really don't want to play the Pittsburgh Steelers defense with James Conner, especially since they're 4,400 as well. I would rather just play Washington. So if I'm starting, some of my builds, I'm going to give you guys a quick look at kind of what I'm doing. Something like this is where I want to be. Antonio Gibson, Hopkins. I like I said, Antonio Brown with the Mike Davis, Cole Beasley in here with the run back. This is kind of one of the builds I'm doing. This is another build. I'm kind of, Miles Sanders, Mike Davis, Hopkins, Kirk. So it's a double stack with the Beasley bring back. I like Gronk correlated with Mike Davis and Gibson and Washington football team. And the third one right now is kind of like I said, I like Mike Gesicki with Pope in that lineup. I like Murray, Hopkins, and Kirk. Diggs as a run back as opposed to Beasley. And then I got Mike Davis as kind of a one-off, which this is the lineup I kind of want to tinker with and kind of figure out. But you kind of see where my head's at this week. I'm kind of all in on Antonio Gibson. At the quarterback position, I feel like it's going to be either you're playing Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, potentially Drew Lock if you're paying down, or it's going to be Kyler Murray. I think those are the four. You could make a case for Brady. The issue with Brady, again, is I do have Gronk. I do like Antonio Brown. I also do like Mike Evans. So with Brady, it's just you don't know which the targets are going to be. You just got to kind of pick two and hope they're there. And then since it's Carolina, they're also really bad against the run game. So it could be Ronald Jones, it could be Leonard Fournette that are getting those, touchdowns. So it's very kind of like spread out there, which kind of makes me rethink if I really do want to play Mike Davis, because I want a run back, but I'm not sure that, this is the team to do it from. So as of right now, Mike Davis is in my lineups. He'll probably be faded in one, at least out of the three, maybe two of the three. I'm not sure yet, but that's kind of where I'm at. So quarterback, again, Russell Wilson. I'll go number one, Kyler Murray. Number two, Josh Allen. Number three, Russell Wilson. And number four, if I have to, Drew Lock paired with Tim Patrick and Judy. If I'm not playing Drew Lock in one of my lineups, I may take a stab at Melvin Gordon, but likely it's not the scenario. It'll likely either be Drew Lock, but number one and two for me are Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. It's kind of where I'm going to first. At running back, I'm going with Antonio Gibson as my number one overall running back across the board. Even if I could pay up for Aaron Jones, Kamara, I just think the spot is beautiful. Number two, I'm taking Miles Sanders. And then number three, I like Mike Davis. Number four, I like the Chargers running backs. And lastly, I like James Conner. At the wide receiver position, I like Tyler Lockett. My number ones is probably Hopkins and Kirk, Diggs and Beasley. I like that Buffalo-Arizona game. I just like those four. I'm not really interested in Keenan Allen. I'm not really interested in Cooper Kupp. I do not mind Robert Woods because he rushes for the touchdowns. You could also say, make a case for DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, and Robbie Anderson. But overall, for me, I think it's going to be Hopkins, 1, Diggs, 2, Kirk's, maybe Beasley actually is over my overall number 1 receiver is where I want him first. Then I want Hopkins, then I want Diggs, and then I want Kirk. That's kind of where I'm going at receiver. I'm not really mixing in too much. Like I said, I do have one lineup with Antonio Brown, and I also do like a little bit of Josh Reynolds and Tyler Lockett. So those are the receivers of kind of where I'm at. I do want to be a little heavier on Tyler Lockett than I am right now, so that may change. But I am not sure if I'm going to be able to run it back with anyone from the Rams. I may just play Tyler Lockett from that game. At tight end, I'm going with Evan ENGRAM as my number 1 play. I do like Waller, but I'm probably only going to play him if I'm playing Drew Lock on the other side. I'm not playing a naked Waller. I'm not running it back. I'm not running Hawkinson out there. I'm not really on Fant. So if I am playing Mike Davis, I am playing Gronkowski in one of those lineups, running it back with, or Antonio Brown. I do really like Evan ENGRAM because I'm going to have Miles Sanders in my lineups. My number 1 tight end right now this week is Evan ENGRAM, even with the weather. Number 2 would probably be Waller. Number 3 would be Gronk. Flex, it depends on how you're building. Like I said, there's so much value. There's, even on Miami this week, there's, $3,100 receiver. I don't even know, JAKEEM Grant at $3K. With Preston Williams on IR, maybe it's not Gesicki, maybe it's JAKEEM Grant, that gets that work. But I'm leaning Gesicki in that lineup, from that team a little bit more. So the flex depends on how you build. There's many different ways to go, and the defense for me overall, I'm taking Washington football team number 1. I like the Saints as a number 2, and potentially Dolphins number 3. Those are the 3 tournament takes that I have. So good luck this weekend, guys. I hope you guys got a little bit of where I'm headed, kind of where my head's at. Wish you guys the best of luck this week. Make sure to keep updated to the news. This is 11 p.m. Pacific time. So by the time you guys are taking a look at it, the landscape of the slate may have changed a little bit. But good luck out there, week 10. Make it profitable, and I'll see you guys back here for the next slate. Talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.